Okay, now it is time to start our roundtable discussion with three amazing experts. So now I'll invite three people to the stage with me to discuss about AI and artistic processes. Please join me, Per Perez, Koray Tahiroglu, and Taika Jalohaikara. Okay, thank you for joining me. We shall do a deep dive in the world of AI in artistic processes. And I have three incredible professionals who I'm now going to introduce to you. So I have here sharing their insights Koray Tahiroglu, who is a musician, researcher, and lecturer at the Aalto University School of Arts. He's the founder and head of Sound and Physical Interaction Research Group. He is practicing arts as a researcher, coordinating research projects with interests including AI and music creativity, new interfaces for musical expressions, and sound and music computing. Thank you for joining me. I have Taika Jalohaikara, who is one of the Finland's first AI artists. She's also an AI coach, speaker, and an entrepreneur. Taika exemplifies how traditional artistic expertise and modern technology can be combined in a creative and innovative way. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks.
And then I have Per Perez, who is an award-winning in-house director at the Norske Teatret. He has bachelor's degree of performing arts from Emerson College and master's degree in directing from Oslo National Academy of Arts. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Oh, and maybe I should also introduce myself. By now, most of you know me as the host of this event, but also there's a reason why I'm moderating this panel. I work as an AI specialist at the Oulu University of Applied Sciences, and also together with my co-host and business partner Emily, we have our own company where we are trying to combine AI education and storytelling and creating audio stories for children. So I also know a thing or two about AI and creative processes. But now, let's get down to the business. AI is becoming a part of many artistic processes, but the motivations differ. What is the core reason you choose to work with AI? What does it you allow to express or explore or question? How about Taika? You can go first.
Yeah, sure. So for me, the AI is about the possibilities and the experimentation. So, for example, if I wanted to create an image of an action dude who's hanging from a ladder from a helicopter, I would have to rent a helicopter somewhere, actually not very cheap. I would have to find a male model for myself and the camera crew and a project manager and get everybody at the same time to the shooting place. So now with AI, I can just sketch everything what I want to see, give my sketches to the AI, and it creates art for me. And another example, I live in Helsinki, so I have trained the Helsinki tram to the AI. I have created my own tram model, and I can create like very innovative images about the tram. For example, I have made a banana-shaped tram. So if I wanted to create that traditionally, it would take me like so many hours to achieve the same thing.
That is absolutely correct. So basically, you are kicking off all the rest of the creative people.
Well, you could say that too, but I'm more about combining different techniques.
Yeah, and it's all about the imagination and things you couldn't do. That's very cool. Thank you. How about the guys? What are your feelings? Why are you doing this?
I guess in my own practice, technology plays a crucial role in such a way that I look at the music practices through the technologies. So in that sense, AI gives me possibilities that the other technologies would not be able to give me. For example, I create latent spaces with multidimensional spaces where each vector point brings up sounds that nobody has ever heard before. So it allows me to explore the music practice in such a way that's something that it gives me something new, but also it helps me to look at the music making in a different way. So that's the motivation, and but this motivation has been there for a long time. So while the technology changes, my practice also changes. In 2004, it was Arduino where it helped me to bring the physical world into my own practice. 2010, it was the mobile phones, and now that's the AI technologies at the moment.
Amazing. And then we have Per.
Yeah, I guess coming from a very analog text-based theater background, so the eye-opening experience for me using AI in my artistic practice was twofold. Both structurally, it helped me sort of analyze what I have been doing, and it's a new creative partner that allows me to communicate and invite the audience to reflect around the core value questions. So for me, it's always about what is the content, how do you want to present the story, and how to make the interactive experience for the audience, where the AI was, in our case, a language model. Yeah, so that's it's a vessel for opening up and pushing the theater into being still a factor. Many will say we're maybe not so current and relevant, so it's important for artists to engage deeply and reflect around these questions, also the ethical aspects of our practice.
Yeah, but that's also one thing I wanted to hear more about your production. We obviously heard some of it yesterday when your colleague was presenting. But I was about to ask you, you have experimented with live interaction between performer and AI model on a stage. How or what have these experiments revealed about how theater institutions and audiences need to adapt when technology becomes an active performer?
Yeah, I think it's at two levels. Artistically, I mean, it challenges us to explore new modes of expression, and helps our audience also within the civic space that the theater is to reflect around questions they might have, concerns they might have through engaging in it artistically. You know, not individual practice, sitting in front of your own keyboard or doing it putting it in this civic space and saying, I mean, these institutions exist to have this kind of discourse. I think is so important because my instinct meeting this technology was to keep it at an arm's length. And because I had this gut reaction that this is something we should or maybe shouldn't interfere with, I felt in my discussions with Anders Drabaturg, it's extremely important that we artists also claim and have a stake in engaging with this to see how we can shape the discourse and not just leave it up to the other sectors that have a vested interest in terms of, you know, the technical aspect or the monetary aspect. So
Yeah, absolutely. You can either use it or decide to not use it and just watch everybody else using it. Amazing. Okay, moving on to Taika. You train your own models, am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you use your own drawings and you run the models locally. Why is that ethical stance important for you in your creative process?
Well, I think about the datasets. Dataset is like, for example, a bunch of images which I use, and I have drawn them myself. So when I use my own dataset, I think it's better compared to these big companies who sometimes don't even reveal their training data, or they don't even tell you what kind of images they have used, like based on their models.
Yeah, I think for the commercial models, I think Adobe is the only one who actually reveals that they're using the Adobe stock photos in their models to train them.
Yeah, at least they have claimed
Yeah.
claimed so.
And all the others, we don't know what they're using. That audience yesterday, when we were discussing about AI, had these questions around the copyrights and how you're training your models, and can you use AI art, for example, in fabrics? But like with your way, I think that solves the problem.
Yeah, and also another aspect of this is that because I run the models locally, the only resource that I need is my own electricity. So because there has been a lot of talk about using resources for running AI models, for example, water. So I think it's more ethical to do it on your own computer.
That is absolutely correct. And obviously, there's a lot of talking about around this topic, and maybe also a lot of misunderstandings about how ethical or unethical it is. We all have our own concerns, but we are all facing and going over them. Am I right? Do you have anything to add on that from the ethical point of view?
I guess when these tools became more available to us, to be honest, maybe around 2016, 2017, of course, the research and application of AI has a long history, but so the initial aspect has been mostly just practicing and creating a content, but then the ethical questions actually became an issue when what kind of content and how these contents has been actually produced. So it is very much important to have this responsible AI attitude towards all the practices that we use. It's not only like practicing arts, but also AI has been now a very fundamental part of our daily life. So I think it's very important to consider these ethical issues that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking with you, Koray, earlier, and you described AI as something that co-creates with you, more like an instrument than a tool. How does AI change the artist's role when it becomes something you play with rather than something you just use?
Yeah, that's a good question that we discussed earlier. I know. Well, I think there is a certain assumption that AI has always been described, current technologies has been described as tools or as something that we use. But I guess the role that current AI technologies have in our practices, it is a bit different than the role that the other technologies actually have played. For example, if we think about more in traditional sense, with some instruments we have more embodied relationships, so that this physical bond that we have with musical instruments, they define the role that the instrument plays in musical practice. So and this relationship is very much central on their performance. So that's very critical, the way we play with them. So they provide the accuracy and fluency, and then they place. And because of this relationship, for example, musician becomes the center of attention. So it's kind of like primary agent in that musical practices. But when we consider now AI technologies, they play different kind of roles. So especially because of their autonomous features and the generative features, they can actually influence the musical output in unpredictable ways that the musician would not be able to think about in beforehand. And their models can also, their behaviors of these systems can also change dynamically based on the musician's output. So then they became something else than the tools that we use. They actually actively participate in a creative process, but also they do a very advanced technical execution. So they move, so they do not really slip away in the background in music production, but they actually very much be part of this collaborative process.
Yeah, Taika, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I have also trained one AI model who can draw just like me. So I like to call it the virtual Taika, and then there's the real life Taika. And I think the real life one is on the stage today.
You didn't send the virtual Taika?
No,
We
I
could
didn't.
have her on the screen, though.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. Amazing. Also, Per, I think you have a lot of experience having AI with you.
Yeah, well, at least through this project, a couple of years now, specifically concerning how we use the language models to develop and as a tool in our creation, but also in the live element of performing. But I'd like to say that I think the whole hype curve for AI is quite staggering now, and it always depends on what do you actually want to tell, not only in the artistic exploration, but also by using what tools. I mean, you always have to try to be aware of how that is perceived. But that being said, in the theater context, it's extra contentious because it goes directly into the question of autonomy and intelligence and creativity, and our instincts are that this should be our domain. So I think it has been extra important for us to be very transparent about how we're practicing, what tools are we using and why, and what we ask others to participating, not only within our institution, which had a lot of resistance, but also what we're inviting the audience to participating. So it heightened also my awareness of the ethical choices I normally sort of just sleepwalk through, and reflects back on my more analog practice as well, because you don't automatically ask those questions to yourself. So it has also opened up that dimension for me. The use of AI and the mindset and the discourse it opens up for also reflects back on the analog practice.
Yeah, I think that's amazing that all three of you are using AI together with your own creative mind, because at least I've heard a lot of discussions around of how AI is taking places of our creative people, but obviously it's not true. We can use it as a tool, as an instrument, something to play with and together. What kind of feedback have you received when you introduced the AI in your work?
Yeah, I think this is also a general assumption that maybe we have been waiting for a long time so that the computers will take over the world. But I think the crucial thing here is that art is an human experience, and the human aspect cannot be underestimated in this experience. So they play different kind of roles, but they like with a co-creating, they change us, we change them. But at the end, the art is an human experience. So I don't think that will change in any way.
No, that won't change. I don't think so either. But the way we experience it will change. Yeah. I think, can we do something very unique? Can we take questions from the audience? Because I have super professionals right here, and I know you all have also a lot of questions. I mean, I have multiple one, but now if anyone has anything, I can give the mic to you.
Yeah, so I mainly use Stable Diffusion and Flux on my computer, and I have trained my own LoRa models, so I use that combination. And the models are open source, so anybody can use those models and run them locally on their own computer.
Yeah, a good question and a rather large question. I think coming from my perspective, from the analog theater, we're very used to closing in and defining the questions for ourselves and sort of doing a closed feedback loop on the ethics of the project, while dealing with these and using the large models, which we did in our project, sort of forced us to open up and really reclaim our theater as a civic space where everyone should be able to have a sharp debate about what are we here for, what is our mandate. We are government funded mainly, and what we use our resources for. We really invited a lot of outside experts from different fields to, in a way, play devil's advocate within the project to help us sort of create the experience we wanted. That exactly was to sort of unlock and open up for the audience to be able to have a discourse around these questions. And we were very transparent with that there are a lot of ethical gray areas. At the time we wanted, where we conceptualized the process, we would prefer to do an offline model. but they weren't giving us a good enough artistic experience that would open up the audience to have this discussion. So we had to be very transparent about, we have to use the biggest models now today to be able to even get to the point where we can have a discussion about the ethical issues. So complex, but important for artists and the theater at least to have a legitimacy and have a stake in talking about the big paradigm shifts in our culture and in our field and society. Because I think, sadly, still we are quite insular and feel like we have our own answers and our own processes, and we also have to do our work on behalf of society and by opening up and engaging. Yeah.
Thanks. Oh, please add.
Yeah, I think these ethical concerns could also move a little away from the AI field. But if you look at the all big corporations, and do you think that if they would ever follow these ethical concerns, would they be actually this big? And so these things really should be addressed in a very larger scale. But at the same time, I totally agree that the small data set also matters in ways, and all the models actually have been. This has been also very much in a way presented in a way that the big data set means something for these models. But in our research group, for example, is our particular approach that when we do not really develop a new model, but we take the model, we modify that, we make our own version. And one of the crucial things that we do, we make these models in a small scale so that it can actually work with small data sets, and also in such a way that it would not require any GPUs, for example, to train, but on a CPU level, things can be executed as well. So at least that's our contribution towards that direction.
Yeah, just a quick comment. So there's the aspect that the open source models are pretty difficult to learn and use. So the commercial art models are much easier to use for like a person who's not very experienced in creating AI art. So is it better that people can learn easily to create the art, so it's like democratic for everybody, or is it better than we try to hinder the big companies? So it's a complex question.
But at least the commercialization made it a big thing. So I think that's one point of view. Amazing, thank you. Per, we're talking about participating the audience with the AI, so I got inspired and decided to participate our audience as well. I'm sorry, and thank you. Quickly before we end, to wrap it up, what are you curious to experiment with next? What are you going to do next? What's your next big thing with AI in your creative process?
Well, for me, it's creating worlds and world building. So I would love to create this Taika magical universe, which is full of art, and people could really like experience it, not just look at it. So that's the next big thing.
Thank you. How about Koray?
Currently, we've been exploring possible ways to combine different modalities together. This has been done with diffusion models. You write some prompt and then the music or images appear, but in a more supervised way, in a way that, you write a car and then the car image happens. But we are developing a model, VAE model, that we can have, for example, dance movements, latent space with full of dance movements, and then combine that with an audio world, and in an unsupervised way. So that's the tricky part, but that's something we are working on at the moment.
Very fascinating.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious about trying out AI, like more image visualization, and to see how that can be used in a meaningful way in dialogue with the audience, since our last project was so centered on language models. And also, when we started off, we had to try a lot of the offline models and didn't really feel they were there yet. And now I know there's much more availability of complexity in the offline models. So I'd like to really get under the hood and see what potential we have with those now. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
great.
guess the most curious I am is to continue to see how we as a species adopt to this technology on a psychological level and keep telling the stories and using the theater as a space where this is actually discussed instead of, remaining insular with our old habits and not letting the world in. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. I told you I have some great professionals over here. Our time is up, and I want to thank you so much. I think at least I have a lot of questions. Probably the audience have a lot of questions, but you're still here for till the end of the program, which is ending unfortunately very soon. I would love to just keep going. So just probably people just can come and grab you and talk to you after this panel and the program too, right?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely amazing. So let's give a big hand to our amazing panelists, Taika, Koray, and Veera.